demonic forces begin to push along the edge of the Black Sea, headed north to expand their supply lines. If the link can be made with Central forces, Greece and the remaining southern peninsula will be cut off from the Kingdom of Hungary. Under the shadows of the mountains, the blade of the Eastern Flame prepares to engage them. Stay tuned for another story as MGM presents Trench Crusade.
Alright, welcome back to Miniature Game Montage. Really appreciate having you with us for episode 4 of our campaign. Really appreciate your support as we learn the game and just have fun. I've talked to so many people that have shared their enjoyment in what we're doing, and it just feels fantastic. Today we have the Trench Pilgrims and the Heretic Legion as both factions get their second game in. The Trench Pilgrims distribute some martyrdom pills to their communicant as they found a relic in a ruined house in the last game. They can purchase an item worth up to 7 glory, and they pick up the donkey's jawbone and distribute it to their castigator Uther. They elect to bank the remaining 60 ducats and depart with 10 fighters worth 765 ducats. The 13th Legion of Heretics adds an additional trooper to their ranks and outfits him with a submachine gun for 2 glory that they earned. Another trooper with a bolt-action rifle joins their numbers, taking them to 5. The Death Commando equips gas grenades, and the Chorister equips standard armor. They depart with 10 fighters worth 792 ducats. Today we're using the random scenario generator again, and we rolled up for Sabotage. Each team will place 3 objectives on the battlefield within the stated parameters. During the game, the attacker can destroy the objectives by planting explosives on them. To plant an explosive, the attacking model must first move into base contact with the objective marker, and then use any melee action they have. Activation of the model will end after a demolition charge is planted. In the following turn, if the attacking model is activated and they move away from the marker, the objective is destroyed. At the end of the game, if the attacker has destroyed more objectives than their opponent, the attacker wins. If less, the defender wins. In addition, infiltrators must be deployed as normal troops in this game. For deployment, we're using a long-distance battle with deployment on the corners and at least 24 inches of no man's land. For glorious deeds, we have bloodletting for inflicting a 6th blood marker on an opponent, Fickle Luck, which is to use 2+ blood markers on an enemy to give them -2 dice or more. We also have Live Dangerously, which is to retreat from melee twice with 1 model during the game, and Killer Instinct, which is to take 2 enemies out of action with 1 model using melee. Lastly, as always, a glory point is available for winning the game. With teams deployed, we're ready to get down to tableside for turn 1. Our attacker for this game has been designated as the Trench Pilgrims. We hope you enjoy. Alright, in this scenario, they have to plant the bomb and then voluntarily move away from the objective in order for it to go off. If they're taken out of action or moved away by any other means, then the bomb will turn out to be a dud and will need to be replanted. Up first in turn 1 will be the Trench Pilgrims. The War Prophet is going to activate first, electing to move and then dash. The leader of the Heretic Legion will follow up, first moving and then now trying to cast Puppet Master, but it does fail. As that is a risky action, his activation will end, and we go back over to the Trench Pilgrims, where we do see a Trench Pilgrim passing a dash and moving forward. A Heretic Trooper activates next, comes up behind Malcorn, but fails to dash. The Trench Pilgrims activate their Pilgrim with a punt gun, and he moves forward and dashes. The Heretic Legion do the same, but their Trooper unable to dash, activation ends. A similar result happens back for the Trench Pilgrims as one moves forward but fails to get his dash off. We've then got the Chorister that will move and dash. Lots of movement in this opening turn as another Trench Pilgrim goes forward and takes a risky action but fails. The same will happen for another Heretic Trooper as he moves up the left flank. The Castigator Uther moves forward, getting behind the War Prophet. The Warwolf Assault Beast getting +2 dice to his dash maneuver that is easily passed, and he moves forward. Forces continue to go out and back, moving troops forward, and either passing or failing the dash maneuvers, getting into positions for turn 2. We do have one of the Stigmatic Nuns who gets plus dice to dash and climb actions. She does successfully dash forward, and then will pass a climb with plus dice to get into the building. The Heretic Legion sends another trooper forward with a move and a dash. We then go back to another Stigmatic Nun, getting that plus dice to dash, which is successful as she moves forward, up to 16 inches on that move. The Death Commando will move and dash. He will then go into hiding here, touching a piece of terrain and getting plus dice for this. That is successful. As he is hidden, he essentially can't be targeted. We move back to the Castigator, who is going to move and dash forward. And the Artillery Witch has spied something across the board as the Castigator and the Stigmatic Nun have rolled into a position to where they could potentially get hit by an Infernal Bomb. She summons from hell, the bomb drops on the target but misses. The Infernal Bomb scatters 3 inches and doesn't impact any of the fighters as turn 1 comes to a close. A lot of movement here, a lot of dashes, everyone trying to get into position for turn 2. We will need to see a roll-off prior to turn 2 as both forces are tied, and it looks like New Antioch will have the option. They're going to elect to go first. And with the priority in this turn, New Antioch sends one of their Trench Pilgrims forward. He's going to pass a dash and then elect to use his melee action to set the bomb. From across the board, the Artillery Witch eyes down the same spot, essentially targeting the objective marker, and she does land a hit with the Infernal Bomb. The Stigmatic Nun will be hit first, the Communicant unable to soak up damage from a blast weapon. It will be a 7, reduced by 1 for her standard armor. It is a 6, which is a minor hit. She takes 2 blood markers due to shrapnel from the bomb. The Communicant has Martyrdom Pill, so he's actually at minus dice on his injury rolls. He gets a 4, which will be a minor hit as well. The Communicant only takes 1 blood marker as a Trench Pilgrim moves up and decides to fire his bolt-action rifle at the leader, Malcorn. Range and cover make him at minus 2 dice. That shot is going to miss. The Pilgrim then uses a melee action to set the bomb. A Heretic Trooper activates next, moves slightly, and aims his bolt-action rifle at one of the Trench Pilgrims and opens fire. He is short range, and there's no cover. He lands a critical hit, which is plus dice on the injury roll, and that plus dice is a 10 that takes the Trench Pilgrim out of action, and the bomb is a dud. The Trooper attempts to dash but fails. We move to the Nun as she does a regular move, passes a dash, and she is moving towards a back objective. And as the Nun moves, she is looking at the Artillery Witch, trying to be cautious of what line of sight she gives. Up next, in a massive activation, Malcorn moves forward, successfully passes a risky action to dash. He has a semi-automatic rifle targeting the Communicant, and he rolls at plus 2 dice. He gets a 10, easily landing a hit, and then the injury roll at minus 1 dice due to Martyrdom Pills, and that is going to take the Communicant down, adding a blood marker. Malcorn then uses Puppet Master, which is a risky action, and that is successful. He grabs the Trench Pilgrim and moves him forward 6 inches. And as the Pilgrim is pulled forward off the objective, the bomb is no longer set, so the Trench Pilgrims will send another fighter forward, and he successfully passes a dash. He is then going to open fire at Malcorn with his bolt-action rifle. And the result of the shot is going to be a hit at minus dice. The injury roll is a 10, it becomes a 9 with standard armor, and since Malcorn is tough, this will be treated as a down result instead of out of action. The Trench Pilgrim then rearms the bomb. The Heretic Legion responds to this by sending a trooper up on top of the trench, and he will open fire at the Trench Pilgrim that is occupying the objective. Elevation offsets long range, he lands a hit on a 10, and the injury roll will be minor damage. Towards the center of the board, Trench Pilgrims send another fighter forward to start the detonation sequence. A Heretic Trooper responds to this by moving forward, firing his SMG, landing a hit, and taking the Pilgrim out of action. And the detonation sequence could not be finished as the Pilgrim was taken out of action. The trooper attempts to dash but fails. The War Prophet moves forward, semi-automatic rifle targeting the Warwolf Assault Beast at +2 dice. Elevation offset by cover, she lands a hit, but with the Warwolf's armor, there will be no damage. At +2 dice, she plays a Holy Sermon to move forward 3 inches, and occupies the objective using her fight action to plant the bomb. Back at the center of the board, a Heretic Trooper moves and opens fire at a Trench Pilgrim on the objective. Elevation offset by cover, straight 2d6 roll, another 10 is rolled, and the injury roll at plus dice using the blood marker is out of action. As that happens, another Pilgrim moves forward to start setting the bomb again at the center as the Chorister begins to move. Fails her dash, however, activation ends. The Castigator rises to his feet, will remove a blood marker, and then he moves to begin setting the bomb again. Seeing this, the Death Commando leaps from his perch, announcing a charge. He rolls up a 4, and that will bring him into contact with the Trench Pilgrim. With his claws at +2 dice, and thankfully so, he does land a hit against the Trench Pilgrim. He rolls an out of action on the injury success chart, and this allows him to charge forward into the Communicant. His Tatarus claws extremely deadly, giving him an additional 6-inch move, and he lunges into combat with the Communicant, and he will land a hit at +2 dice. Remembering we are at minus dice for the Martyrdom Pills, it is just going to be a minor hit. He attacks again with his claws, again landing a hit, this time just at +1 dice, and at -1 dice on the injury roll due to the Martyrdom Pills, it is just going to be another minor hit. And after some careful measuring, the Stigmatic Nun that was in the building is going to move and dash as she looks to apply pressure on one of the back objectives. This movement will give her the opportunity to take a ranged shot with her pistol. Unfortunately, the shot is going to miss. Over on the other side of the board, the Warwolf Assault Beast announces a charge which is successful into the War Prophet. The beast attacks with his chainsaw mouth, landing a hit. The injury roll is abysmal, however, and just results in a blood marker. The creature then attacks with his claws and lands another hit. At plus dice on the injury roll, it is an 8. Standard armor makes that a 7, which is a down result. And seeing the War Prophet in trouble, Uther attempts to blind charge, which puts him at minus dice. He ends up failing as a result. And turn 2 comes to a close. The sacrifices for the Trench Pilgrims are heavy as they sent Pilgrims forward to attempt to arm the bombs, but they were rapidly taken off. They have gotten into a position to rearm many of those, but the Heretic Legion putting up a big fight here. As we look to turn 3, the Trench Pilgrims will be up first, and they have a big decision to make. And the War Prophet electing to go first. We do miss Fear here, so rolling with +2 dice should just be 1. She does land a hit. Her anti-tank hammer goes through the armor and gives +1 die to the injury roll. It's a 7. She'll then cast Lay on Hands to heal herself for D3 wounds, which will be 3. She then looks to flee from combat, as this would detonate the bomb that she has been standing on. But the wolf gets an attack with his chainsaw mouth and lands a hit. The chainsaw mouth rolls with +1 injury die and ignores armor. The result is going to be a 7, and the War Prophet is sent crashing down. The turn now flips to the Death Commando as he looks to finish off the Communicant that has 3 blood markers on him, going for the attack, but he misses. He attacks again, this time at just +1 dice. While he lands a hit, standard armor is going to make this roll a 6, which is a minor hit. The Death Commando attempts to flee, has some additional tricks up his sleeve, but the Communicant gets an attack first and lands a big hit. At plus dice, the standard armor makes this a 9, and the Death Commando is taken out. and a major swing in momentum. The Commando had a lot of options here with gas grenades and a few other things. The Communicant takes him out on 5 blood markers. The Trench Pilgrims claim their first sabotage, moving away from this objective, and it explodes. The Heretic Priest Malkorn has some tricks as he gets to his feet. He fires his rifle at the Communicant, plus 2 dice, and gets a hit. Martyrdom pills make it minus dice, and it's just a minor wound. He then attempts to use Puppet Master, the Communicant using the blood marker he has to give him a minus dice here to his pool, and it is still going to end up passing. He does push the Communicant off the objective. Malkorn will then move and dash to relative safety. Back to the Trench Pilgrims, Uther, the Castigator, attempts the blind charge against the wolf one more time, and he ends up failing. The Artillery Witch from up top of the ruins lines up another shot and is successful. The Stigmatic Nun is caught in the blast. Standard Armor makes this roll an 8, and she goes down, taking 2 blood markers due to shrapnel. She is then blown back 3 inches to the wall. As the Trench Pilgrims activate next, though, the Nun immediately stands, converts a blood marker into a blessing. She takes a risk and dashes forward. She then aims her pistol and takes a shot at the trooper, landing a hit. And we accidentally allowed her to use her blessing to give an extra die on the injury roll. Would not have mattered, however, as he goes out of action regardless. The Nun then uses a melee action to begin planting the bomb. From up top, a Heretic trooper needs to move to get better visibility. That is what he does, and he takes a shot from elevation and hits. And using the blood marker for plus dice on the injury roll, it is going to be a down result with standard armor. And the objective is still arming, although she is down. We swing back over to the Trench Pilgrims, where another Stigmatic Nun is going to move to another demolition site, and then just begin planting the bomb. Back at the center of the board, the Chorister is going to attempt a blind charge into the Nun. This puts him at minus dice, ends up failing. The Trench Pilgrims send their Communicant forward to begin prepping another explosive. Meanwhile, the Warwolf Assault Beast will stand and attempt to attack with his chainsaw mouth. He lands a hit, ignores armor, and gets another down result, which adds 2 blood markers to the Prophet. The Wolf attacks again, this time with his claws, and he lands a critical hit. The result is going to be down on the injury roll, however, adding 2 more blood markers, now up to 4. The Heretic Legion does have the rest of the activations. We do successfully dash this trooper, and he uses a move to get a shot off on the Stigmatic Nun. His shot, however, at point-blank range will miss. Another Heretic trooper activates, will move, and then fail a dash, ending his activation. The last Heretic trooper to activate will move and dash. And this brings an incredible action-packed turn to a close. And the Trench Pilgrims were able to successfully sabotage one area. They do have 3 bombs planted across the board, but the question is, can they get away successfully to make them explode? The Pilgrims owe a morale check as we head into the next turn, and that is good. And with the initiative, the Stigmatic Nun is going to stand, charging into the Heretic Trooper moving away from the objective, which makes it explode. She gets +1 dice in melee and is equipped with a sword, which has the critical keyword. That's what she gets here, so it adds +2 dice to the injury roll. She does get a 9, which takes the trooper out of action. She then attempts to dash, and that will fail and will end her activation. Up next, the Heretic Legion and Malkorn. Back up to his tricks, he is going to use a standard move. He's then going to fire his rifle at the Communicant. He's at +3 dice with elevation, easily lands a hit, rolling to wound, using 2 blood markers to negate the martyrdom pills and give him plus dice. It results in a down. He then successfully casts Puppet Master to move the Communicant off the objective. Malkorn fails to dash. As we move over to the Trench Pilgrims, the War Prophet will heal. That's successful. D3 wounds roll off, and she goes back to 1. She swings her anti-tank hammer, just barely landing a hit. And using a blood marker and getting +1 to the injury roll, it is going to be a down result. She then attempts to flee from combat, but the chainsaw mouth attacks with a minus dice. It does land a hit. And using both blood markers, he inflicts an out of action, but she can ignore it. And as she gets away, the bomb detonates and hits the werewolf, ignoring his armor. The result is an out of action, but he is tough and will stick around. She then fires her combat rifle. She lands a hit and then uses Bloodbath, and adds these together, takes the werewolf out of action. And that's the first we've seen of Bloodbath used in our games, used to take the werewolf out of action with high armor. Up next, the Heretic Legion sends a trooper to fire his bolt-action rifle at the communicant. He lands a hit, elevation offsetting the range. He uses Bloodbath as well, adding these dice together. Standard armor makes it a 9. The communicant will suffer his first out of action. The communicant is tough, so not out just yet. Up next, the Stigmatic Nun is going to use a blessing here on a dash, really wanting to pass this as she moves away from the objective. That is good. Another demolition charge is set off. She then charges into Malcorn, swinging her sword and landing a hit at plus dice. You wear standard armor, so the injury roll is a down result. We go back over to the Heretic Legion. We do have a trooper that is going to move and then successfully pass a dash action. This will bring him into range with his SMG. He fires at the communicant with minus dice due to range. He is still going to land a hit. And then, using Bloodbath once again, adding these together, that is going to be enough to take the communicant out of action for a second time. The trooper then turns with his submachine gun and fires at the Stigmatic Nun. He can shoot twice with this weapon at different targets. He is at -2 dice, but he still lands a hit. The Stigmatic Nun does use her blessing on this injury roll to give minus dice. The result is a 7, which is a down result. Up next, the Castigator moves to the top of the trench. He then attempts to dash and fails. The Chorister Ejim attempts to blind charge into the Nun. She is within range, but he fails as well. The Trench Pilgrim with a punt gun activates and just stays out of line of sight as the Artillery Witch attempts to summon an Infernal Bomb. The bomb impacts on top of the trench and the Nun is okay. A trooper then moves, attempts to fire his bolt-action rifle at the War Prophet. His shot is going to miss. He is then going to pass a dash to get back into cover. And an exciting turn concludes as there have been 4 bombs set off across the board. The Trench Pilgrims do have the lead in this game, but the question is, can they stick around? And both factions will need to start testing for morale. The Trench Pilgrims will fail and become shaken. The Heretic Legion are going to fail as well. The Nun attacks using her blessing and getting +1, gets that critical that she's fishing for with her sword, using the blood marker on Malcorn and takes him out of action. In a huge move for the Nun as she aims her pistol at a Heretic trooper and fires. She is going to land a hit, and the injury roll will be an out of action. She gets 2 of them. She finally fails to dash, ending her activation. Back over for the Heretic Legion, the Artillery Witch attempts to summon a bomb, but she fails, and the action is risky, so it's over. The Trench Pilgrims activate their other Nun, who has to stand. This halves her movement, and she's going to charge, which is a risky action. It is going to come up just short. Meanwhile, Ajim, just attempting to move, fails, and his activation is over. Uther will move, but fail to shoot. Another trooper will move, and then fail to shoot as well. Trench Pilgrims pass on this activation, can't fire that punt gun unless someone is beside him. A trooper then activates, fires at the Nun, minus dice for cover, and lands a hit. She uses her blessing to impact the injury roll, giving minus dice, and with standard armor, it will be a down result. The trooper then passes a risky action to charge into combat. He does land a hit in melee, using the blood marker to impact the injury roll, and it is just going to be a minor wound with standard armor. The War Prophet at the bottom of the screen attempts to fire, but fails at that risky action. We are now going to turn 6. If either of these warbands flee this morale check, they will flee the battlefield and give the victory up. The Heretic Legion rolls first, getting a 10, and they will recover back to normal, and so will the Trench Pilgrims, turn 6 coming up next. And we go to combat where the Heretic Trooper attempts to hit the Nun, but he misses. Meanwhile, the War Prophet fires her rifle, lands a hit, and rolls an out of action, taking a Trooper out. And nobody is safe in this game, as both sides really fighting for a victory today. We swing back to the Heretic Legion, where the Artillery Witch begins to summon an Infernal Bomb. She lands a hit onto the Nun. A direct hit, 3d6, adding all of these together, the Nun is taken out of action. We then move to the Castigator. He fires his shotgun, landing a hit onto the Chorister. Minus dice and standard armor, however, just a minor hit. The Chorister Regime is going to successfully pass a dash, which will give her line of sight to the Nun. She then charges. She does roll enough to get into engagement range with the Stigmatic Nun, and she has a sacrificial knife. Her blade is pure as she lands a hit at +1 dice. She then gets +2 dice on the injury roll and takes the Nun out of action. And turn 6 is over. If either one of these warbands fail a morale test similar to last time, the game will end and they will give the victory to the other. We roll them both at the same time and both pass, but since the Trench Pilgrims have destroyed 4 of the 6 objectives, they are going to claim victory today. An amazing battle between these two factions really came down to a morale check the last 2 turns to see who would fail. They both were able to recover from being shaken. They stuck around. The Trench Pilgrims were able to blow 4 of the objectives and will come away with a victory today. And let's go ahead and tell the therapist we've got a lot to unpack in this one and get right into the postgame as the Heretic Legion advance was stopped by the Trench Pilgrims. There was just so much death in this one. Malkorn suffered a leg wound, which is going to reduce his movement by 2 and also give him minus dice to dash. The Commando Ragnarok was dead. The Warwolf Assault Beast Retcher was found dead, as well as a Trooper. It does not get any better for the Trench Pilgrims, as one of the Nuns was found dead. The Communicant Josiah was found dead, as well as 2 of their Pilgrims. Both factions carried on with exploration. Priest Malkorn did get an advancement, gained the disengage ability. Chorister Regime got 30 pieces of silver, which will allow them to earn more ducats at the end of each game. The War Prophet Russia gained an advancement and got sharp eyes, and the Castigator Uther got an advancement, getting skill and expertise. With no promotions, we moved to exploration. The Heretic Legion did roll up a 16, finding a sniper's nest and getting a combat rifle. They leave with 160 ducats and a glory point from Priest Malkorn. The Trench Pilgrims also rolled a 16 in exploration, finding a sniper's nest as well. This one had a sniper rifle in it. They will take home 160 ducats and 1 glory for the win today. That wraps up this game of Trench Crusade. It has been incredible bringing it to you. We will be working on a new faction for the next game, the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, so I hope you stay tuned for that. As always, thank you so much for your support. Supporters Club, your names are on the screen now. Really appreciate your support, and it's by no means necessary. If you've watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support the channel, so thank you so much. We will see you in the next one. Take care.